Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk with the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as we're now on the road to 500 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. If you love sports content, sports talk, anything from sports betting to updated rankings every week, it's all right here on the Talk with the Town podcast. And here today, we're just going to be going over a few things here, making some predictions for the Bills versus Texans Thursday night football game tonight. The reports about Joe Burrow potentially coming back and playing against the Patriots this weekend, and why I potentially think that could be a disaster in the making for Cincinnati, and just going over some other things as well. But before I get into that, I just wanted to say that if this video is coming out a little later today, and I'm sure some of you will notice, but I recorded earlier around 11 a.m. or so, where I was done at like 11 a.m. I started at like 10:30 or something like that. And I was edited, I was done. I realized that when I was downloading the video on my computer, I was logged into my college email. I was like, you've got to be shitting me right now. So the whole thing, it ended up getting corrupted. I couldn't download it on my computer. It just got all messed up. So yeah, here I am at 4:24 now, a couple hours before the Bills and Texans, trying to get this out for you guys again. So my apologies for that. But let's get into the Bills versus Texans Thursday night football game tonight. A game I have an upset in. I'm taking the Houston Texans to win this game tonight. I have not taken Houston much at all this year to win some games, but as I said, there's been a trend in primetime games this year, especially with Thursday night football. I know it didn't happen last week with New York and New England, but it's been a trend that teams are upsetting a lot of the favorites on prime time, especially Thursday night football. And I am going to take the Texans in this one. I think they're more in a desperate spot. I think the Bills are also in low-key kind of a desperate spot as well. Like, if they lose this game, most likely the Patriots are probably going to beat Cincinnati on Sunday. I'm going to get more into that here in a little bit. But they're most likely going to beat Cincinnati as of this moment, especially if they play Joe Flacco. And they'll be, 3 games behind New England? The AFC East is probably going to be out of their grasp, because the Patriots after that play the Giants. I mean, they play the Bills and then the Ravens, and that's it in terms of competitive opponents. I mean, that's really their only 2 competitive opponents all year. So there might only be 2 losses left on the Patriots' schedule, and you figure, hell, the Bills are 3 games back if they lost tonight. It would almost feel wrapped up at that point. And the Bills start to play the Eagles. They do still have some tough games on their schedule. So, the Bills are also like kind of in a desperate spot here tonight as well. They can't afford to go 3 games back if they do tonight against the Texans. But I love the Texans defense. To me, I think they have the best defense in the NFL. Of course, I acknowledge the Broncos. I acknowledge Philly as of late. Philly's defense has been incredible. Trust me. Cleveland's defense away isn't quite as good as it is at home. Their defense at home is like historically good, but I acknowledge good defenses. But Houston, I think in terms of the way it's coached, D'Amico Ryans, not only do they just have elite talent on defense, just high caliber players on just every level of that unit there. They're just so well schemed. They really are. I mean, the way he just schemes that defense, is really just, I think, the best in the league. And then you just got the whole mixture of the coaching, the players at every level. Houston definitely feels like they have the best, fastest, and one of the hardest hitting defenses in the NFL. And I think against the Bills, without Kincaid, without Curtis Samuel, without McCole Hardman, and Keon Coleman, a healthy scratch again tonight as well, which has been brutal. He was a late first-round pick, or I think they drafted him in the early second round. Either way, it's basically a first-round pick regardless. What a disaster that's turning out to be. And compared to the week or the game Keon Coleman had in week 1 against the Ravens, which just shows you how bad the Ravens defense was throughout the first 8 weeks of the season. The last couple weeks, they've actually been pretty good, and their offense hasn't been great. But, Keon Coleman had a career game. He had over 120 yards, I think, a touchdown or 2. Basically lost them the game right there. And or basically won Buffalo the game and lost Baltimore that game. But ever since that, Keon Coleman has had a nightmare season for the Buffalo Bills. Now healthy scratch twice. That really blows for Buffalo because that's a guy they were counting on coming into the season being like their number one receiver. You had him and Khalil Shakir. And Shakir hasn't really been playing that great either. That's why the whole receiving crew for Buffalo just has been very lackluster. Again, if they didn't have Josh Allen, this offense would be bottom unit. I mean, they really are Josh Allen and James Cook relying as well. So, yeah, no Kincaid, who I'm mentioning now, I think is our third best player on offense in terms of playmakers. I think you got Dawkins, the left tackle. You wanted to count him in; he's probably their third best player. But in terms of Allen, of course, is their number one. Cook, and I'd say Kincaid so far this season. Kincaid has been a weapon for them. I mean, I've watched the Patriots game. I watched every Bills game, and Kincaid has just been not only a security blanket, but a big-time playmaker down the field. He's been a big-time vertical threat for the Bills down the field. He's been one of their biggest playmakers in terms of making big plays, 20, 30, 40-yard plays down the field. He's been great at it so far this year. He's really having a career year. Curtis Samuel, just kind of a reliable receiver. I guess one of their better receivers. He's a starter out here. And Hartman, of course, who just signed there not that long ago, kind of been bringing a little bit of a spark to the Bills' offense and in some sort of way there the last couple of weeks. But that's a blow. Again, I think losing Kincaid kind of did it in for me here. Now, I do think with C.J. Stroud being out again, that this Texans offense, especially in the red zone, they are terrible in the red zone. Like this Texans team on offense in general just really isn't very good. They were struggling against Tennessee last week, which is why, I am still like, I'm leaning to the Texans mainly because of the defense. And I do think with the Bills missing some guys that they're going to end up squeaking out an ugly win. This isn't going to be pretty. I don't think we're going to look up at halftime and say, is this thing over? Like this is going to be maybe a last second field goal kind of game. Like 17-14 or something like that. Like, I think the Bills are going to struggle to score without Kincaid. Whether or not Joe Brady decides to use James Cook tonight, I think is going to be massive in the Bills' game plan. But we're just going to have to find out. I think if they turn into throwing with Josh Allen 35, 40 times and having him be Superman against a defense like this, it's going to create turnovers and it's not going to work. But if they pound the ball with James Cook, they pound the rock, I think the Bills will end up squeaking off an ugly win. I think either way, this is going to be an ugly win. I do. I think this is just going to be a couple turnovers from each teams. And these teams both are desperate to get a win here this week. Would push Houston over 5-5, then be over 500. And the Bills, again, wouldn't be falling behind in the AFC East. So both these teams, desperation game. And the Bills on the road against good defenses this year. Atlanta's an example, who's been the number one pass defense in the league. Just got carved up by Bryce Young last week, by the way. But Josh Allen has been creating a lot of turnovers, especially over the last few weeks. Even though he had 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns last week, he also had two ugly picks at the beginning of the game. It's kind of taking him a while to get going in these games. Like he struggled against Miami the week before that. Kind of didn't really end up getting going towards the end of the game, but even still, had one of the worst interceptions of his career against Miami a couple weeks ago. So he has been creating some ugly turnovers, and I think against this Houston team, that's going to come back to bite this Bills team. I would take the Texans to win an ugly Thursday night football game tonight, 17-14, or maybe 2017 against the Bills. This is going to be an ugly one tonight. I can tell you that. Texans defense, I think, is going to be all over the field, going to create some turnovers, and I think that's going to lead up to some of their scores. And the Bills are going to try pushing the ball down the field with Allen. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I just kind of feels this way, and that's my prediction for this game coming up. I'm going to say 2017 Texans over the Bills tonight. Next thing I want to talk about here is the Bengals potentially bringing back Joe Burrow this week against the New England Patriots. Whether or not they're kind of calling out their bluff or whatever they're doing, we'll see. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to come back this week just because it kind of feels so rushed. This has been a story over the last 24 hours or so that Burrow's kind of been a participant in practice. Are they going to play him? I don't know if it's just kind of a scare tactic, like, do we want to give him another week? I think, but here's the thing is I don't know with the Bengals because between the ownership, Zach Taylor desperate for his job, I think at this point, I think they could be desperate enough to put him back in. I think it's a disastrous move But there's an organization, there's some in this league I do not trust making big-time decisions. That's including your star quarterback's health, who is a top 4-3 quarterback when he's at his best. And you're going to put him back in, just shove him right in when your season's lost. I mean, no matter whether or not Joe Burrow comes back in, the season's over. They're not going to make the playoffs. I would bet everything I've ever had that the Bengals will not make the playoffs this year, even if Joe Burrow were to come back on Sunday. I'm not trying to be biased. I'm not doing any of that. Like, I don't have any bias towards the Bengals. I don't really care. I don't think either way they're going to make the playoffs. Their defense sucks. Even with Flacco, I mean, I know they didn't put up a good performance against the Steelers over the weekend. And they kind of stunk it up. But I mean, hell, look at the Bears game. I mean, Flacco, they went down, made clutch drives, scored. But they had like 40 points. They've been averaging over like 30 points a game with Flacco or somewhere around that. And they still lose games. I mean, how much better could you get with Burrow? I mean, they could average 36, 37 points a game, and they'd still lose. Their defense sucks. They have bigger problems than just Joe Burrow coming back. I'm being serious. I think even if Joe Burrow's been playing the whole season, I think it would have been disappointing. I think this team, maybe they'd have another win or two, and they'd be around 500. They'd be 5-5 or something like that. But this team would be 8-2 with Joe Burrow. There's just no way. Their defense just sucks way too bad. You've seen it last year. Burrow played. They didn't make the playoffs. They had that slow start. They kind of got hot midway through the season. Then at the end of the season, they were kind of hot and cold, but a lot of that was because of their defense. It's not because of their offense. They can plug back in Joe Burrow. It will not matter. And that's why I think you're going to put him back in. You're going to risk his health. Again, do you really feel like he's fully healed from his injury? Like, if you were to set him these next 7-8 weeks, you don't risk anything. You know he'll be fully healthy. All you're going to have him do is go out there and take a beating and score 30-something points a game just to lose. I think that's just the harsh reality of the Cincinnati Bengals season right now. And I just think putting him back in is just an absolute disaster waiting to happen. And I think, again, if he takes another major injury, what happens if he goes in there and he re-aggravates that foot injury? He goes in and maybe does something to his knee, his ACL. Anything can happen. This guy's very injury prone as it is. I'm not even just saying that because I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line is very good, which it isn't. It isn't great. They don't have a run game supporting Burrow. They're going to ask him to go back there and pass 40, 50 times a game. It's just a disaster waiting to happen, putting it back in there. I don't agree. And the one thing I do understand with putting him back in is that if you're the ownership, especially because you're cheap as hell as it is anyway, you're looking to sell tickets. And, with Flacco, you're selling tickets, you have people involved, you're still scoring points. But with Burrow, of course, he's not only you're just selling tickets for your stadium in general, people are going to watch the Bengals because they love Joe Burrow. He is. Like ladies love the guy. I've seen it everywhere. I just have. I mean, my girlfriend doesn't think Joe Burrow is very attractive, but hell, I would hope she wouldn't think he's attractive. Maybe that's just a me thing. I mean, I don't really care, but I'm just saying, I just think it's a disaster in the making. I do. And there's some owner or some teams in this league I wouldn't trust. I don't care who's their owner. The Jets, the Titans right now. The Titans really for a majority, besides a couple of years with Mike Vrabel. Even still, the ownership and the management still screwed the whole thing up there, even with Vrabel. There's just certain teams in the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, like these teams I do not trust. Remember, when Joe Burrow got hurt a couple months ago, they didn't even have a cart on the field to take him off. They had to basically carry him off the field themselves. He's limping off the field because they didn't have a cart for him. Yeah, that's the Bengals organization in a nutshell. They've had talent. Of course, Chase, they're going to go out there. They're going to score a bunch of points and be flashy, but it's a terrible idea. That's just me personally. I don't see it. Trevor Lawrence, over the weekend, over the week, actually, a couple days ago after week 11 ended, week 11, week 12, forget which week it was exactly. But they had him ranked as the 23rd QB in the NFL. And I think for a guy that was drafted first overall, seen as in the prospects of Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, I mean, generational. Everyone knew that. Everyone said, this guy is going to come in this league and tear it apart, and I did have some doubts with Trevor Lawrence coming in. I'm not just saying that, hey, 4 or 5 years later, he's been lackluster. I've been saying this. Of course, I didn't have my podcast. I was in my senior year of high school when he got drafted. But I was in junior year. I think it was in my. I think I was in my senior year of high school when Trevor Lawrence got drafted into the league. But he has been incredibly lackluster throughout his career. And seeing him ranked as the 23rd QB in the league, like he's 8 spots away, like 9 spots away from being the last ranked quarterback in the league with Dylan Gabriel. And, Shador Sanders, I think, was ranked last. He hasn't even played a game yet, a full game. He's played like 5 drives of his career. He hasn't played a game yet. I think for someone who was seen as a Peyton Manning-like prospect, Andrew Luck, who was really just going to come in and change everything for the Jacksonville Jaguars, or even hell, it was looking like the New York Jets for a while. I think it's talked about, but it's not talked about enough, like how just kind of disappointing he's been. Yeah, he took the Jags on a little bit of a run a few years ago. They went 9-8. They had that miraculous comeback against that Brandon Staley-led Chargers team, which that team just, God, Brandon Staley I think he is one of the worst coaches to ever coach a football team. I remember a few years ago with the Chargers, I don't think Herbert was playing in that game. What did they have? They had Easton Stick in that game or something like that. I don't know. Might as well have me in there at that point. And they were losing to the Raiders. I wasn't even watching really the first or majority of the second quarter. It was just a game I wasn't really interested in, but I kept up on it. I look up and it was like 56-0 at halftime or something. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, it was like in the third quarter, they ended up winning that game like 63-7 or something. I mean, I was like, what the hell? And that was really the nail in the coffin for Brandon Staley. That was embarrassing. That's kind of goes to lead on to that Chargers and Jags playoff game. And I do give Lawrence credit. I mean, he played this whole second half. He played really well. I think he had a couple, I think he had 3 interceptions in the first half of that game or something like that. One of the things Lawrence just has not been able to do in his career is just stop the interceptions and the inconsistencies. And that's kind of one of the worries I have with Caleb. Now, I think him and Caleb are 2 kind of different players. Caleb is definitely a way better mover back there in the backfield. In terms of escaping sacks, Lawrence is obviously the bigger, taller, stronger. I mean, Caleb Williams has a rocket, a cannon of an arm. I mean, those two's arm talent. No one's denying that they have serious arm talent. But, I mean, either way, honestly, even watching Trevor Lawrence, I kind of watch him. His arms kind of doesn't look great. I mean, maybe above average at best, to be honest with you. And I've seen some articles over the last couple of years. I haven't really touched on it. But I think this guy coming out of the draft, Trevor Lawrence, we looked at him coming out of the draft, was a little bit overhyped. Even at Clemson, obviously he was great, good enough to be the number 1 overall pick and get the hype he had. But I just look through his career the last couple of years, and I was not as in on him as other people were coming out of the draft. But I wouldn't have thought 4 or 5 years in his career to be the 23rd, 24th ranked quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he's a bottom tier quarterback. And I know they're winning games, but he's not the reason they're winning games. He's not. The defense has been great. Their running game, hell, I don't even know what was his name the other day. Oh my God, against the Chargers. I mean, he's been having a good couple weeks anyway, but their backup running back has been incredible. I mean, he's fast, he's quick, and he's just bruising guys all over the field. I mean, literally he's stocky. I'm just like, Jesus, this guy just looks incredible out there. I forget his last name, but if Jags fans or any of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. God, I don't know, it's killing me not remembering his name, but Trevor Lawrence is not the reason they're winning these games. I have his stats pulled up. He's 11 touchdowns and 8 interceptions this year. I mean, honestly, and a lot of those touchdowns come off of that game versus Cincinnati their second week. He had 3 touchdowns. Since that, he also had 2 interceptions that game. But since that, he's had 8 touchdowns and 6 picks. He's just been extremely lackluster. And I thought, with Liam Cohen kind of coming in, what he did with Baker last year, and just previously before that, Liam Cohen's been fantastic with QBs, especially just really, I'm going off the main example as of recent with Baker Mayfield. And I kind of thought maybe this guy's the one who can squeeze every ounce of juice out of Trevor Lawrence. Just hasn't. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has it, to be honest with you. I think at his best, he is an average quarterback. I think he is maybe the 16th ranked quarterback in the league at his best. 15, 14 maybe, at his best. And I just think seeing that him ranked 23rd, 25th, I see him ranked 25th on a big time list as well. And for me, he's ranked probably low 20s or high 20s. Let me say that. Maybe 20th right now. He's not even close. I think he's closer to being 32 than he is top 10. I'll just say that. That's my personal opinion, but I just think it's disappointing. And I think the Jags, well, they're stuck in this big contract. And I would agree that even though he's ranked that low, that if they had to move off of Trevor Lawrence, like, what would they do? Who could they get that could really just be better than him at this point? It's hard. It's a weird situation with the Jags. And look, they're not talking about moving off Trevor Lawrence at all. They're winning games right now. But I think that if this team shows a lot of potential, they kind of have a couple more good drafts. They have a lot of really good young talent. And they feel like Trevor Lawrence is holding them back. I feel like this is a situation that could come up in the next couple of years. Like, oh, what the hell do we do with Trevor Lawrence? And I think that's something that could become a reality for the Jags. Just a very lackluster, career for him so far. He hasn't had a bad career, but in terms of what he was supposed to be, incredibly lackluster. Some things I've been seeing going around the NFL and just kind of all over social media, to round off this video, is a lot of people talk about, and I was looking in the comments of Stefon Diggs and Cardi B had a baby. I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday, or actually earlier today. No, it was yesterday. They ended up having a baby, and Cardi B has been attending the last 3-4 weeks of Patriots games. They've been putting her up on the camera, not nearly as big as the Taylor Swift thing, but the NFL kind of all these football pages have been posting, congrats Cardi B, congrats Stefon Diggs. You're going to see it this week with the New England and Cincinnati game. They're at least going to mention it once or twice. Well, whenever Stefon Diggs makes a catch or a pregame or whatever it is, they're going to mention he had a kid and Cardi B. And a lot of the people were in the comments saying, like, this is very reminiscent of the Taylor Swift thing. Look, the Patriots up and coming. They're going to have Cardi B on the cam every 2 seconds. Like, why the hell does the NFL keep doing this? Who cares? For one, and, I wouldn't necessarily make this a topic, but it was almost under every other comment. Everyone was like, why the hell does the NFL keep doing this? Why does the NFL keep doing this? It's like, dude, of course, every single, singers especially, a lot of NFL players date celebrities. Look at Josh Allen he's married to Haley Steinfeld or whatever her name is. But singers especially, the NFL loves singers. I don't necessarily know like what the difference is per se, but singers definitely have just a bigger fan base. I'll say that's the difference. It's like they have a massive fan base. And for one, what they bring in is a woman audience to watch the NFL. That's what they do. They bring in viewers. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. Someone asked me about Klay Thompson with Megan Thee Stallion and how, the Mavericks were making a big deal, but the NBA doesn't necessarily push it quite as much. But is that affecting Klay Thompson's play at all? And of course, it's not affecting Stefon Diggs' play. But with a lot of people talking about Klay, like, when you get in like woman singers, as Taylor Swift is obviously bigger than Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, but when you get these people in here, they bring in a massive, not just a male audience. Trust me, there is men who like Cardi B, who like Taylor Swift, whatever. They bring in a massive women audience, and that's what the NFL wants more than anything, is to try to get at least women to be casual viewers, and they are. There's a lot of women casual viewers in the NFL. There is, but in terms of watching it, quite as much as guys do, they don't quite have to. Majority of the hardcore fan base and even the casual fan base of the NFL is men. They want it to be both. If they could get it to be both, they're dominant. They're dominant as it is right now. And the one thing what the NFL does so well is they market. They are one of the best marketers, really, just in general, out of anything. They market incredibly well, and that's what they did with Taylor Swift. Is that if they see an opportunity to market this product with Taylor Swift and Cardi B, they see it as a product. They're going to do it. They are absolutely going to do it every single time, and they are going to push that thing as far as they can, humanly possible. They just are. So they see they can make any ounce of money, get fans, they're going to do it. And people legitimately are wondering why. Like, why the hell are they doing this? Nobody cares. Well, there is people out there. There's a lot of Cardi B fans, and they see him dating Stefon Diggs. Guess what they're going to do? They keep putting on Cardi B. Every time Stefon Diggs makes a catch, they're going to, especially with social media, they're going to post it on their social media. They're going to watch the games. They're going to tune in, especially the younger audience, which I'd say a lot of Cardi B's audience is younger. Probably honestly, anymore, I'll say around my age. I'm about to be 22 years old here in a couple of weeks. So, 2 weeks at this point. I'm going to be like 2.5 weeks to be 22 years old. A lot of them is my audience. Cardi B is popular in terms of, I'm trying to think of just, she was a stripper before all this shit going on now with her singing career and all this. She had some fame before that. But, her music was more popular, I guess, 5 years ago or so. I don't even really know any songs of her recently that's been that popular as it was when she had like Bodak Yellow and shit back in the day. I remember that. There used to be this skating rink near me that, when they played Bodak Yellow, the whole place just went ballistic. And that it just makes me think of like, that's what they do. They will market every product they can get. Taylor Swift, when they were marketing Taylor Swift and the Travis Kelce thing, which they're not doing as much anymore just because Travis Kelce isn't very good. He's still okay, but he's not as good as he used to be. And the Chiefs aren't anywhere near, Super Bowl status as of week 12. But, Jesus, I think they brought in like over $1 billion of revenue. They brought in so much revenue just based off of Taylor Swift herself. They see this opportunity with Cardi B. And I'm just bringing that up because I was seeing it a lot yesterday when Stefon Diggs and Cardi B had their baby. Congrats. I know Stefon Diggs ain't watching this podcast, but I'll just say it anyway. But yeah, that's all I got here today, y'all. If you're a Bills fan, a Texans fan, you got the Thursday night football game tonight. Hell, even just you're a fan of football in general, like myself. We got football tonight. Thank God. It feels like it's been too long. I'm not a Bills or a Texans fan necessarily, but I always love watching football. So hope you guys enjoyed the video here today. Even though I had some complications earlier, still always getting content out for you guys. So everyone, see you guys tomorrow and take it easy.